Hello, I'm Danna Beal, and I want to welcome you all to our second episode of Leaders Forum, where we are learning to transform ourselves and our world. And again, this is our second episode with Sheila Kelly and Peggy O'Neal and myself, Danna Beal. So just to remind each of you, since we've only been on the air one other time, would you each like to tell me a little bit about yourself, and so that our audience knows why they're listening today, who and why?
Sure. I'm Peggy O'Neal. I'm an executive coach. I'm in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and I've been coaching about 35 years after practicing law for 12. And my focus is on helping us live the lives that we're truly meant to live here, and to help work collaboratively, and to create the lives, the organizations, and the world that we really want to live in, that our hearts know is possible.
Perfect. Sheila.
Well, Peggy, thank you. I'm Sheila Kelly. I live in Nova Scotia, Canada. I too have been coaching for about 20 years. Before that, I had many lives. My last real job was as a manager in one of the toughest union environments in Canada. So I sharpened the saw of leadership in an environment that was really, really tough. And after 20 years of coaching, I realized that what I really help my clients with is removing the barriers to what makes them effective leaders and authentic leaders, because we all have everything we need to be authentic. And it is only when we're authentic and remove the barriers to being who we truly are, who we want to be in our lives and in the world, that we can show up and really, really shine as the person that we want to be, not what other people are telling us that we quote unquote should be.
Great. Well, I'm Danna Beal, and I'm the author of The Illuminated Workplace, Shining Light on Workplace Culture. And I've been a speaker and an author and a writer and a coach. And I've spoken all over the United States and Canada. And I believe that all three of us are addressing a very timely topic, which is culture and how we relate to one another. And there is a lot of pain and suffering. There's a lot of fear in the workplace. And Sheila, you were mentioning last time about stress in the workplace and some information that you've learned that you could share with all of us. And then we can discuss how stress impacts not only the leader, but the organization, and what we can do about that.
Thank you, Danna. Yes, I mentioned hearing a neuroscientist actually talking about stress and how, of course, it has a physiological impact on our bodies, because when we're stressed and overwhelmed, our body actually reacts to that, and our body actually secretes more cortisol, which is called the stress hormone. And interestingly, it's not only that it secretes it, and we think possibly that it stays inside of us. It actually secretes through our skin somehow, and the people around us can sense it. And I propose that, of course, we can sense when other people are stressed anyway, but to know that there's a physiological appearance of the hormone in our body and around the energy around our body is really interesting. So what I thought would be interesting today would be talk about ideas we've gleaned from our own lives and from working with clients. For example, I once had a client who, every time she heard her boss walking down the hallway to her office, just the sound of his footsteps stressed her out. And I think the two of you have also had clients who have had that kind of stress response or some other stress response. So it's possible, and I don't know if it's true or not, but it's possible that he was secreting all this cortisol and it was stressing her out. And she too became stressed. And we did some coaching around how she could overcome that stress response. And I thought it would be interesting today for all of us to share what strategies we might use, not only with our clients, but with ourselves, especially at this time of year, because not only are people stressed out at work, they're stressed out because it's about a week before Christmas. And that's another level of stress that gets added to the mix. So what do you think?
I think that, and Peggy, I want your opinion on this, but I think stress is a response to situations. We are responding to something that we find fearful or anxiety producing, and then our body goes into a stress mode. And what we don't realize, especially if we're a leader, that's going to impact everybody around us. And so the real answer, and Peggy, this might be what you were talking about, has more to do with the leader being able to go quiet themselves inside with pausing and breathing and recognizing what is the fear that's being ignited in them or triggering them to have this stress response. And if the stress is coming from another person, it could be partly behavior modification. They've learned when they hear that sound. But what I found really interesting is, Peggy, you said you can actually feel the stress from another person. So imagine what kind of workplace environment that creates, or country, if you've got a leader that's leading out of stress and fear and creating fear and causing that response. It's just huge of how that impact could be. So, Peggy,
Yeah.
It's like a contagion. It's a virus that
Yeah.
spreads. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like what you're just referencing, Danna, and what you're talking about, Sheila, too, the virus part, the whole world is stressed right now. We're seeing what's happening in the world. People are worried about the economy, their personal lives, and what's happening at work and layoffs. Somebody just told me that this huge company has now set aside billions of dollars to pay people for layoffs for next year. So imagine what the workforce is like that are learning that, oh, they've got a bunch of money set aside for layoffs, and I one of them. And I think it's gotten so, we've all become so stressful that I think we're also not even aware of how stressed that we are. And then so it's just this daily mood, maybe daily mood of underlying stress that comes to work with us every day. And then so the couple of things, one is, we know that that's harmful physiologically. It ages us, and then what another repercussion of that is we actually can't or are not as good at accessing creativity or wisdom or creative ideas, or repeating myself, or being resilient. If we're really stressed, we don't have access to all of that. And so yeah, some of the ways that I help people with stress are like what you're talking about with breathing, and also just to notice, because it's our thoughts and our emotions that are going to amplify that stress. And so one of the things I do, and I encourage others to do, is when we notice we're all caught up in thoughts, to relax the focus of attention from the thoughts, which can be challenging because we're like almost addicted to our thoughts. We're paying attention to them. I need to listen to them. Oh, they must be telling me something. And to relax the attention and just let the thoughts go by like clouds in the sky. And over time, it becomes an easier and easier practice that helps us be more centered and be able to then express authentically what we want to express.
I call that being connected and being unified with the soul. When we can slow down, there's an inner knowing that can transcend all the stressful activity and even the responses of other people. And whether you're a designated leader or just another employee, you can actually help be a calming presence to the people around you. And we know this, that people work better in a trustful environment. And so leaders that can calm down, employees that can calm and connect and operate from their deepest self, create an environment of trust for one another. And that's where you can be, as you just said, Peggy, resilient and creative and actually contributing in a positive way rather than working out of fear and anxiety.
And
I know
actually
some-
productive. Sorry, I just want to get that in there.
Yeah, more
More
productive.
productive, which is what people want. But stress, we're not as productive. We drop things, we forget things, we're so focused on the stress that we don't perform as well. Sorry, go ahead, Sheila.
Oh, no, don't apologize. No, it's absolutely true that, this is one of the myths about stress, is that it makes us more productive, when in fact, stress over time will absolutely interfere with productivity and creativity and make us exhausted, raise our blood pressure, contribute to heart attacks. I mean, there's just so many long-term benefits, or not benefits, but downsides to being stressed out all the time. Danna, you reminded me that I know somebody that's coaching, helping coach a team. And he was told that they were glad he was on the coaching team because there was somebody else that was kind of hyper stressed. And they thought this other coach, would be able to calm them down because of their presence. They have a calm demeanor. They don't get excited. They're very just, kind of on an even keel. So that kind of ties into this idea that we are contagious. We are contagious with other people. And if we're all excited, and especially for anger can really spread throughout a culture, and disappointment and all of those things. One thing I did with this client was talk to her, the one who got stressed out every time she heard her boss footsteps. We talked about the fact that she was bringing the past into every interaction with her boss. So related to what you talked about, Peggy, with her thoughts to turn to all the ways that he was making her feel a certain way, or she thought he was responsible for making her feel a certain way, whether he was, too bombastic, ignoring her at meetings, maybe talking over her, that kind of thing, because she was in a male-dominated environment. So she learned to be a little more present with the present, rather than letting her thoughts take her back to all the ways that he had disappointed her. And she found herself looking for things that could make her feel more positive about him, tried to catch him doing things that she could appreciate, rather than totally focusing all the time on all the things that were wrong with him, all the things that in the past that he had done wrong. So those are simple ways we can pay attention to our thinking and shift how we react and respond to things that can stress us out if we let them.
And I would add that when you're feeling stressed, and I'm saying this to all our listeners, pay attention to it. If we don't, we could get to an actual burnout zone, and we then can't even be participate. We can be seriously impaired with a burnout. And in fact, as a leader, you should be concerned about employees experiencing burnout, because that's how we lose employees in organizations, good employees. And so each one of us can look inside ourselves. What are some of the things that do help us reconnect with our true self? For me, it's I live on a lake, looking out at the water helps calm me down. Meditation, when we're really busy, and all of us are busy, everybody's busy, especially this time of year. And we think if we can just get one more thing done, we will get farther along. And I'm suggesting take at least 10 or 15 minutes in the morning to meditate and clear our mind, because there is so much information now about how that literally helps us become, like you mentioned, Peggy, more productive. And so for each listener, think about what can help you. Maybe go for a walk. Being in nature for most of us is calming. And in addition to all the things that you're going to do at work to try to participate in a positive way and have a trustful environment, if you start each day coming from a place of calmness and gratitude for the things that you do have, you can be more refreshed. And like you said, Sheila, not be living in the past, what happened yesterday, but start anew each day. So I think my biggest suggestion for all of us who are stressed is to find the things, even if it's a few moments here and there, that bring us present and calm, to a calm state where we have our inner knowing.
Yeah, the other day I was feeling pretty stressed, and one of my colleagues, y'all are great colleagues, but this is another colleague who said, slow down. And I'm like, yeah. So because I was trying to fit in another thing, do another thing, kind of moving quickly. I tend to move quickly anyway. You can see that, move quick. And it was really a powerful experience just to slow down my talking, just to slow everything down, take my time. And it was fascinating in my own experience to see how much calmer I was. And then back to what we're talking about, I actually got more done, but also didn't do some things that I really didn't need to do.
Right.
But because I was busy, I just kept doing the thing. And then when I slowed down, it's like, I don't really need to do that.
Yes.
I need to do that. And
Well, like you, I was having a lot of stress because not only was I visiting relatives, which that was actually fun, but I was very busy. Then I had a friend who was ill and flew to Seattle, and I had to take her to the emergency. And how did I do it? I looked back, and every step of the way, as I was waiting for the flight to come, I just said, one moment at a time. Don't worry about what's going to be next. Don't worry about the next. And it all unfolded, and she's already been able to return back to her home. And we made it through everything. And I realized that sometimes we build up in our own minds that things are going to be worse than they are. They're going to be harder to get done. And we magnify it. And if we can do it one moment at a time, sometimes 1 second at a time, we gradually get to that place where we can say, I did it all, and I didn't become so overly stressed. I didn't burn out. I didn't make myself sick to give myself a rest. I was able to live fully and do each step along the way.
Well, what we're all saying is that it's about how we talk to ourselves, isn't it? It's
Yes.
our inner talk. And I know when I was a stressed out manager, which I wasn't when I left, I learned how to manage my stress so I didn't end up in burnout. But I remember I used to get in my car and be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be late. I'm going to be like, oh, red light. Oh, that red light. And this was how I was talking to myself. And I actually wrote on a piece of paper and put it on the dashboard of my car. And it said, I arrive relaxed, safe, and at the perfect time. I didn't even say on time. And if I was 1 or 2 minutes late, well, that would be okay. The world would not fall apart. And it just made such a difference in how I felt just being behind the wheel. It's so easy to talk to ourselves in a way that feeds stress rather than calm our nervous system, because that's what it is, the limbic system.
Yes.
And yeah, it's so simple in many ways. It really is.
And a reminder, I want to emphasize what you're saying, Sheila, or a reminder, because sometimes when we are stressed or we're in just going, we don't necessarily remember. So the brilliant example you had in the car, you posted the reminder. So to do that, but put the post-it notes in various places so that you can remind yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Take a breath. Slow down.
Yeah. And I mean, it's so easy. I found myself kind of jokingly a couple of weeks ago walking into a party and I said, "Oh, I'm so stressed. I need a drink," right? And I wasn't really that stressed out, but everybody just laughed. But again, if we tell ourselves all the time, "I'm so stressed out, I'm so stressed out, I'm so stressed out," then we're telling our limbic system that that's how we are, who we are. And we can change the messages. I have a friend who says the mind tells the body what to do. So the body responds to our thinking. It really does. And the neuroscience actually supports that. So it's so cool. I think it's just cool.
Yes, and it could help the road rage if more people would do that. There's a lot of road rage in
Kidding.
Seattle, and I
No
imagine other
kidding.
places.
No kidding.
Well, I think that's probably a good note to end on, that what we're suggesting, especially at this busy, busy time of year, to really have the kind of self-talk, make the choices that calm us down, know that we're in charge, and we have an inner knowing that can take us wherever we need to go, and we will know what to do in each moment rather than worrying about it. So thank you, both of you, for joining me again for our second episode. And this will be both on YouTube and on Spotify. So thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Danna.
Thank you. Thank you, Danna. Thank you, Peggy. Bye.